Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rome.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Guatemalan President Jimmy Morales announced that his country's embassy is moving to Jerusalem this May. Speaking at the American Public Action Committee, Morales said, "We will celebrate Israel's 70th anniversary, and under my instructions, Guatemala will return and permanently move its embassy to Jerusalem." The leader of the Central American nation expressed hope that many other countries will follow suit. An Israeli official has confirmed that Jerusalem is in talks with other nations about transferring their diplomatic missions to Israel's capital. Aaron has more on that story.
That's right, Yochanan. Israel's deputy foreign minister has confirmed that Jerusalem is in serious talk with several countries about also moving their embassies to Israel's capital. Tzipi Hotveli said that Israel is negotiating with at least 10 nations about moving their embassies to Jerusalem. In December, President Donald Trump announced that the United States Embassy will be relocated to Israel's capital. And since then, Guatemala has also announced that its diplomatic mission will relocate to the Holy City. Hotveli recently told a group of visiting American Jewish leaders that Israel is in a dialogue with more than 10 countries to transfer their embassies to Israel's capital, Jerusalem.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah were hosted by President Trump and First Lady Melania in Washington, D.C. last week. The Israeli couple, who coincidentally were celebrating their 27th wedding anniversary, stayed in the presidential guest suite known as Blair House. Netanyahu extended an invitation to the American leader to come to Jerusalem to celebrate Israel's 70th Independence Day and the historic establishment of the United States Embassy in the Holy City. Trump indicated that he just might take up Netanyahu's invitation.
Vice President Mike Pence vowed that the Iranian nuclear deal will immediately be terminated if it is not fixed. Pence said that President Trump has given Iran some leniency and time to allow world leaders to correct the nuclear accord, but that time is up. He said that, make no mistake about it, this is their last chance. Unless the Iran nuclear deal is fixed in the coming months, the United States of America will withdraw from the nuclear deal immediately. He said that the United States of America will never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear weapon.
Judicial authorities in Argentina announced that former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner will be charged with covering up Tehran's involvement in the 1994 deadly attack on the Amia Jewish Center. 85 people, mostly Jews, were killed and hundreds were wounded after Iranian-backed terrorists bombed the Argentine-Israelite Mutual Association Center in Buenos Aires. Kushner made an agreement with the rogue Islamic Republic in 2013, which provided her country favorable deals on gas and oil in exchange for guarantees that Iranian officials involved in the bombing would escape prosecution in Argentina. 2 years later, Alberto Nisman, the state prosecutor, pointed the finger of guilt at Kirchner. The night before he was to present evidence against her, Nisman was murdered. A federal judge has now ruled that the ex-president will face charges along with 11 other former Argentine officials.
Buckingham Palace has announced that Prince William will be making a historic trip to the Holy Land this year. The Duke of Cambridge will be the first member of the British royal family to pay an official visit to Israel since the British mandate ended nearly 70 years ago. News of the prince's trip was greeted with celebration by the Israeli public. President Reuven Rivlin said that Prince William will be a very special guest and that his visit will be a very special present for Israel's 70th year of independence. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu welcomed the announcement, saying that the prince's visit will be the first of its kind and that he will be received in Israel with great enthusiasm.
An Argentinian newspaper has become the first target of Poland's Holocaust law. Just hours after the controversial legislation took effect, a suit was filed against Pagina 12 for printing a story about the massacre of 340 Jews by their Polish neighbors in Jedwabne in 1941. The article posted on the newspaper's website included a picture which a Polish organization claims is an image of Polish resistance fighters. It insists that the author of the article, as well as the publication, owe the Polish people an apology for showing a great historical ignorance. The new law makes it illegal to speak of Polish complicity in the Holocaust. More than 90% of the Jewish population of Poland was murdered during the Second World War. Israel believes this new law is an attempt to whitewash history.
Anti-Semitism surged dramatically in the United States last year. According to a report released by the Anti-Defamation League, anti-Semitic episodes increased 57% in 2017. This is the highest number of such reports in 2 decades. The ADL said that there were 952 acts of anti-Semitic vandalism and 1,006 incidents of harassment, including 163 bomb threats against Jewish institutions. Anti-Semitism nearly doubled on college campuses, where there were 457 reported incidents.
Following the opening of the 37th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, the United States reiterated its charge that the world body is obsessed with an anti-Israel agenda. The UNHRC is expected to pass no less than 5 resolutions condemning the Jewish state. That is more than any other country. U.S. Ambassador Mary Catherine Fee pointed out that the UN agency has a special agenda for discussing Israel's so-called human rights violations, separate than those of all other nations, including Iran, Syria, and North Korea. The American representative insisted that it is unacceptable that the Human Rights Council treats Israel differently from every other UN member.
And in related news, the Palestinian Authority asked members of the United Nations Human Rights Council to deny entry to Jews from Israel's heartland. Riyad al-Maliki called on the council to publish a blacklist of Israeli companies operating in Judea, Samaria, and Jerusalem, and demanded that member states deny Israelis living in those areas entry into their countries. Maliki urged the UNHRC to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state and reiterated his government's intention of freezing America out of the peace process.
The Hamas terror organization has praised the latest car ramming attack, which left 4 Israelis hospitalized. 2 IDF soldiers, a border guard, and a civilian were mowed down by an SUV driven by a crazed Arab terrorist in the coastal city of Acre. Hamas released a statement saying, "We bless the heroic and brave Acre operation, which is an important step in the continuing resistance against Israel."
A group of New York City Council members had to be rescued from an angry Arab mob in Ramallah. Members of the U.S. delegation were pelted with eggs as they were whisked out of their meeting with a survey and research group in the Arab city. The large hostile crowd grew violent as demonstrators chanted, "America is the head of the snake and Jerusalem is our capital." One of the leaders of the protest said that he and his followers want to send a message to Americans that they are unwelcome, and he warned any Arab institution against working with Americans. The U.S. State Department condemned the protest, saying that the United States absolutely opposes the use of violence or intimidation to express political views, and that this type of action is unmistakably counterproductive to Palestinian interests because it serves only to ensure that Americans are unable to hear or consider Palestinian perspectives. Just last month, Palestinians attacked another U.S. delegation that was visiting Bethlehem.
The United Nations is hosting an event which displays 3,000 years of Jewish history in Jerusalem. The exhibit is Israel's response to a series of resolutions passed by the world body denying Jewish ties to Jerusalem. Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, said historical truth is the best answer to any attempts to dispute the eternal connection between the Jewish people and their capital. The exhibit, organized by the Jerusalem Affairs and Heritage Ministry and the Israeli Mission to the United Nations, features several ancient coins and Hebrew inscriptions which were found in the Holy City.
Heart attack symptoms are subtle, but the longer that a person waits to go to the hospital for medical treatment, the more severe the damage can be. An Israeli medical company called Novamed has created SensaHeart, a pocket-sized device which can quickly and easily test for proteins that are emitted during an attack. Dr. Chaim Lotan, the director of the Heart Institute and Cardiovascular Division at the Hadassah Ein Kerem Medical Center in Jerusalem, said that time is muscle. He explained that the sooner that a patient receives treatment after the onset of an attack, the better. Unfortunately, existing blood tests can take up to 6 hours to determine if an individual is suffering from a cardiovascular event. SensaHeart can provide this result in a matter of minutes. The World Health Organization says that heart diseases are the #1 cause of death worldwide, and SensaHeart developers believe that those numbers can be lowered with the use of their technology. Emil Katz, the founder and CEO of Novamed, says that the device is available in Israel and throughout Europe and that it is affordable. Each test will cost between $10 and $20.
Israeli archaeologists discovered an 1,800-year-old Roman mosaic in Caesarea recently. The intricate stone masterpiece depicts three men wearing togas and includes an inscription. The mural was discovered within a Byzantine building, believed to be several hundred years younger than the mosaic itself. The collage is of a high artistic standard and consists of about 12,000 small stones per square meter. Caesarea was once a magnificent port city built by King Herod to honor the Roman Emperor Augustus Caesar. The Israeli Antiquities Authority is working on its largest conservation and reconstruction project at Caesarea, and they invite you to see their fascinating discoveries on your next trip to Israel.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Gabe Groisman. He is the mayor of Belle Harbor. Gabe, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Gabe, tell our viewers a little about, first of all, where is Belle Harbor?
So Belle Harbor is a small municipality just north of Miami Beach in Florida.
Now, it has actually very interesting history. There were times where Jews weren't even allowed to live there, and now they have a Jewish mayor. How did that happen?
Well, the pages of history turn. 1947, the city was established, and all the deeds on the properties said specifically the homes couldn't be sold to anyone 1/4 Jewish.
It's interesting that you, as mayor, has really put it on the map here in Israel because you were the first mayor to pass the anti-BDS legislation. Why was the legislation important for your city?
So the legislation was important for our city first and foremost because hate breeds hate. And when the BDS movement really started gaining steam a couple years ago, it hit home because a local church of ours, a United Church of Christ Church, boycotted and divested from Israel in 2015. And we thought it was important for our community as a government to respond to that.
And then just recently, a few weeks ago, you put Belle Harbor back on the map here by passing the first anti-Semitism legislation. Tell us about that.
So luckily, Belle Harbor doesn't really have an anti-Semitism issue per se, but we realized the impact that we could have from our small municipality, from the work we did in the anti-BDS realm. Anti-Semitism has really been growing at an astronomical pace in the last 5 to 7 years. And we thought, we learned that the law enforcement really needed some extra tools to help fight against anti-Semitism in its newest forms.
Why is Miami such a bastion of pro-Israel support and the neighborhoods around it in the cities like Belle Harbor?
I think South Florida is a Latin American Jewish community primarily, and the Latin American Jews are very proud Jews. They're Zionist Jews. When I say they, I mean we. My family's actually Argentinian. And you know, we know that we're not going to stand idly by as things change. We've seen through our past how things can devolve very quickly, and we're not going to have that happen in the United States.
The Boycott, Divestment, and Sanction Act is not just dangerous to Israel, but also to America. Why was it important as an American to pass that legislation? Yeah,
it's a very important point because today they come after the Jews, tomorrow they come after the Christians and the rest of America. And as I said, hate breeds hate. We have to create a society that we want to live in. And none of us want to live in a society where there's boycotts on democratic societies like Israel.
The anti-Semitism legislation is another way that you can protect the rant of anti-Semitism also on campuses. What kind of application does it have to college campuses in America?
Yeah, tremendous applications. The primary place where there's anti-Semitism in the United States today, unfortunately, is at our university campuses. And almost all of it is masked in this thin veil of anti-Israel sentiment. And the law enforcement really has had their hands tied in trying to apply hate crime statutes that are already existent to crimes that are in and around the BDS movement. And this really, what this law does is it gives them the tools, it gives them a specific definition as to when that anti-Israel language really can cross the line into anti-Semitism, and it lets them make the judgment calls, but it gives them the information to be able to do so.
A lot of people say that anti-Zionism is the modern form of anti-Semitism. Why do you believe that?
Look, if Zionism is the expression that the Jews have a right to live in Zion, in Israel, in their homeland, and then anti-Zionism is exactly the opposite of that, which is a statement that the Jews, in fact, don't have a right to self-determination in the homeland of Israel. And really, anti-Zionism today, you can make the argument, an eloquent orator can make the argument that anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, but the reality is that argument only exists in the academic or intellectual realms, because in reality and in application, the Israel boycott movement, the anti-Zionism movement, is 100% in fact an anti-Semitic movement.
At the end of last year, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, recognized Jerusalem as the undivided capital of Israel. How big of an impact does that have on you as a Jewish American and a political leader?
Look, it's a tremendous impact on me personally and on the entire Jewish community, I know on the entire Christian community, on the entire pro-Israel community. It also should be a vote of confidence on the democratic system that we have in the United States, because as many people know, in 1995, the U.S. Congress voted that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel and that the U.S. Embassy should be moved to Israel. And ever since then, the executive branch has simply ignored that by signing waivers. So now, by the President recognizing this historical fact, and a fact that's been the law in the United States since 1995, really is a step forward from all perspectives.
America was founded on Judeo-Christian values, and also Israel was founded on Judeo-Christian values. Does that impact your decision-making process as a politician in Florida, or is that something that, is history?
I don't know if it impacts it directly, but we are our history, right? We're all made up from our history and from our backgrounds, and everybody comes into any position that they're in with their set of beliefs and their set of knowledge and their information, and that's how we approach everything. And of course, as an observant Jew, I have certain things that are important to me, but that's ingrained in who we are, and there is no issue with being Zionist and being patriot. I'm a huge patriot. I love the United States, and I love everything about the United States. I was born there, and I love Israel. It's the homeland for my people.
There are some people who say that the state legislation is good enough. We don't need to do it at the municipal level. Why was it important to take a stand at the municipal level as well?
There's 50 states, but there's 39,000 municipalities in the United States. And these laws don't prohibit somebody from boycotting Israel. They just prohibit them from doing business with the government entity. So instead of making it difficult for someone who boycotts Israel to do business with only 50 entities, the states, if we can have it roll out in 39,000 cities, or even a significant percentage of that, the impact can just be that much greater.
What about a federal legislation that basically blankets all of America? Do you see that in the pipeline?
No, but I think what is in the pipeline from the federal legislation is a preemption law, which Senator Rubio put forward, I believe. And what that would do would be take the anti-BDS legislation out of the hand of the federal government and allow the states to govern that.
We see that America and Israel are coming closer than ever before. What's the future of this relationship?
And the future is going to keep growing. The geopolitics are really getting stronger. Israel is becoming just as much of an important ally to the U.S. as the U.S. to Israel. And that's only going to continue to grow as Israel's reach in South America grows and in Asia grows. And the Middle East is a very important region for the United States and for the world's stability. And the United States, over time, is recognizing more and more the importance of the relationship with the only democratic state in the region.
Mayor Grossman, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
Thank you is my message. We really appreciate the support of the Christian community. I think this is it's an incredible partnership. It's a turn in history, and we think we're really going to be able to make an impact, a better impact in the world, because of the support that we get from your viewership.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod, United Israel Appeal. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Keren HaYesod, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. After 2,000 years, we found the descendants of the lost tribe of Dan. Please help us welcome our brothers and sisters back home. God bless you from Jerusalem.
He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Isaiah 11:12.
Christians and Jews have been bearing witness to the miraculous fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Since the reestablishment of the State of Israel in 1948, the ingathering of the Jewish people to the Holy Land has unfolded before our very eyes. Do not be afraid, for I am with you. I will bring your children from the east and gather you from the west. I will say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not hold them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. Isaiah 43:5. Today, Keren HaYesod has been tasked with completing one of the greatest examples of the fulfillment of this prophecy, the Aliyah of the Ethiopian Jews, the descendants of the tribe of Dan. On October 29, 2012, we were able to bring 250 new immigrants from Ethiopia to Israel. Keren HaYesod is not only tasked with paying the costs of their flights and accommodations, but also with their absorption into Israeli society. There are still around 2,000 Ethiopian Jews who pray daily to come back to the land of Israel, and we need your help to bring them home. We are reaching out to our Christian brothers and sisters and asking you to join us. In this new century, as in the old, Christians must reach out to the Jewish people and do their part to advance the fulfillment of the prophecy and defend the covenant. Help us bring the children of Israel back to the land of Israel. I will bless those who bless you and curse those who curse you. Genesis 12:3.
2,800 שנה של גלות. איך פערים אדירים בגיאוגרפיה, בציוויליזציה, לא יכולים להחליש את הכמיהה הזו, שהביאה כולנו לישראל, והיום גם אתם בבית. ברוכים הבאים.
בכל פעם שנפרדנו, הייתי אומר לכם שיגיע הרגע וניפגש בארץ ישראל. אחיי ואחיותיי, הרגע הגיע. מעומק ליבי אני מאחל לכם ברוכים הבאים למולדת.
Come join Keren HaYesod in fulfilling biblical prophecy. Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
For 70 years, the people of Israel waited for our paramount ally in the world, the United States of America, to recognize as our capital the eternal and undivided city of Jerusalem. In many ways, we waited 2,000 years to be a free people in our own land and to celebrate our capital for 3,000 years. Jerusalem, which is mentioned no less than 683 times in our Bible, is the source of endless songs and love poems from the Jewish people. But for those 70 years, our most esteemed ally, our most powerful ally, did not recognize Jerusalem. And it was an anomalous situation because Israel recognized Washington, D.C. as America's capital. Oh, there were pressures put on us to recognize New York or Philadelphia, but we stuck with Washington, D.C. And the situation became really unbearable, untenable. A Jew could only build in certain neighborhoods in our own capital, whereas an Arab could build anywhere in the capital, even could build illegally anywhere in that capital. And if Israel tried to demolish illegal Arab structures, we were condemned by the United States State Department for illegal demolitions. Now you imagine a situation in the United States where Jews can only live in a certain area or a certain number of neighborhoods in any American city. It would be called prejudice. It would be called bigotry. It would be called anti-Semitism. But that was America's policy. Until just now, President Trump recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. He was recognizing reality, and that recognition of reality is crucial if we're ever to achieve any degree of stability and peace in this region. Recognizing not only that Israel's capital is Jerusalem, but to recognize that Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people with deep roots, 3,000 years long. With this nation, we are indigenous, we are the native people. These are our native lands, and of those native lands, the first and foremost place, the first and foremost city is our eternal capital, Jerusalem.
Lift up your eyes and look around. All your children gather and come to you. The biblical prophecy is unfolding right before our very eyes. The people of Israel are returning to the Promised Land after 2,000 years of exile. But millions of Jews are still longing to come home. Anti-Semitism threatens many of the Jews. We must rescue them before the window of opportunity slams shut. Bless Israel by supporting Keren Hayesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Together, we can fulfill the prophecy of the Bible.
Let us bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.